So I wanted to do a follow-up video on this Kenesis Advantage 2 keyboard, and I had planned on doing a kind of a final video after 3 or 4 weeks of using it and seeing how things were going. The keyboard is not a bad keyboard in the sense that it's comfortable to type on. I pretty quickly got up to the same speed on the keyboard as I can type on my regular keyboard. But the problem that I just kept having and I couldn't get over was the fact that there's so many keys on your thumb. And on a regular keyboard, your thumb is only used for the space bar, and the reason I think is because your thumb is a big, thick, immovable object that doesn't have the dexterity of your other fingers. It's it's there to grip something, but it's not really there to press other keys. And so what I ended up having problems with is that I never could get used to all of the keys on my thumb. The arrow keys while they were easier to use in the position they were a little. It took a lot of remembering to hit your arrow keys on the left and right, whether you're going left and right or up and down. The other keys, the keys for your square brackets and curly brackets, I was always messing those up. So if you're just typing, like typing a book or typing, generic things, it's not a bad keyboard. If you're trying to program on the thing, though, I just found it very difficult to use because I had switched my VI editor over to using JJ instead of having to hit the escape key, which helped a lot with that part of it. But I just kept the delete and backspace, or the enter and the backspace keys I'm sorry, I guess this was the space key and that was the enter key. These guys were always getting in my head. And then the backspace and delete. And then like Control Shift copy and Control Shift paste, or Control Shift C and Control Shift V, they were really difficult to hit on this keyboard because it was, you're kind of twisting your hands around trying to do it. So you end up having to hit the Control key over here, and then the Shift key over here, and then the, C and V, and then there's other keys that weren't working, or just required too much stretch. And then the biggest thing, when I would go home, this keyboard is just too big to carry around. I mean, it's a pretty big keyboard, and while it is light, and it is pretty well made, it's just a difficult thing to deal with. So, and it's also got that tingy sound to it that was irritating as hell. So I ended up sending it back, and like I said, it's not a bad keyboard if you're just typing a book or something, but I think to try to learn to program on it, the biggest problem was that when I went home, I'm back on my notebook keyboard, and it's completely different than the way this thing types. So I was constantly having to switch from the crazy keys that are on this keyboard back over to the notebook keyboard. Or, if I turn around and I'm working on one of the Linux servers behind me, I would have to, I'm using a totally different keyboard over there. I'm not going to spend $350 to put a keyboard over there like this too. So I ended up, I'm just walking around the office or going to the data center. I'm using different keyboards for that. And then when I sit down at my computer, I'm using this keyboard. And it was just too much. So the keyboard did get returned, and I am no longer using it. And I just wanted to post a quick video to kind of give an update about where I ended up with this keyboard.